Okay, sounds good.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Janine Hernandez, and we are on another episode of the Book Publishing Academy podcast. Today, we have Daniel Soto Jr., who is the author of The War with Ourselves. I'm super excited to sit down with him and chat more about his debut book. So, thank you so much, Daniel, for joining us.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who is Daniel?
Um, that's a great question. If we go back 38 years ago, but I grew up in the Bronx, New York. Um, Mom and dad, New York's tough. Uh, I grew up very humble, grew up on welfare, Section 8 housing. Um, Typical, Hispanic family. On the rugged streets of the Bronx, because I'm pretty sure you've heard horror stories of the Bronx and people. It's pretty rough out there. Um, so no, yeah, then I moved to Florida in 2004, going into 2005, my senior year of high school, so that wasn't fun at all. Then I ended up joining the army in 2005, successfully served 17 years. So I've been deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq. So I've been to both worlds. Totally complete opposites. I have two wonderful boys, Mike and Josh. Um, yeah, I mean, life be lifing is what I like to tell people.
And now you're a published author.
Yes, yeah.
What part
Uh,
of Florida did you live in?
so I started off in Coral Springs, Florida, and then I ended up living in Miami.
Very cool. I also lived
Yeah,
there for a couple of years.
yeah, it's
Perfect. So, what inspired you to write The War with Ourselves?
um honestly, it's been a long time coming. Like I've always been into writing, ever since I was young. Like literally I have like probably books on books of writing, probably in my mom's storage right now still too, to this day. Um, so poetry's kind of like a I could release my thoughts on my mind and kind of clear my head. Because I've always been on the go constantly, especially like with the army life, and then I got all these other side hustles that I do, because I do like sports cards slash Pokemon cards on the side. I work for Cardzar. Shout out to Cardzar, in Londonderry, New Hampshire. And then I also stream on the side. I stream on kick.com. But in regards to writing, like it's like I said, it's always been a passion. And for the past, like I'd say probably 3 to 4 years. Went through some rough times, went through some hiccups, because again, life be life and again. And then I just went back to, okay, what makes me happy? What kind of helps me get through the day? And, I got back into writing. Um, like The War with Ourselves, I didn't want to make the book about me, but in a way kind of relate to everybody because
Yeah.
I'm very observant. And for some reason, everybody likes to tell me their life stories, which I'm grateful for it, and any way I can, help somebody in particular. Um, that at the end of the day, that's what I enjoy doing, helping others. Whether it's just to listen, whether it's to give some advice. Um, so yeah, that book, it's a correlation of a lot of years. Obviously, to kind of get a little in depth, I've been through some trauma, growing up as a kid, and obviously the stuff with the army, and then even after the army life. Um, so I think like I would say a big time life. I had a big time life event. I had a life crisis, where I almost committed suicide. Um, and it was rough on me. Um, because like looking back at it, it was like, man, everything that went down, ended up going to get treatment for 30 days, which is a blessing. Um, and just to kind of tell people, hey, there's ways out there instead of making a permanent solution. Because our life is precious, and I always say, yeah, life is short. Don't need to make it shorter, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Yeah, it's kind of like the gist of it, why I wrote the book.
I can relate because when you're going through it, I've also had bits of or seasons in my life where I had the suicide ideation. It's so in the moment, it feels so heavy and it feels like it's dragging on. But once you
Mhm.
get over that hump and then you see the joy that there is on the other side, once you do get help, it's like this tiny little thing in your life. You know what I mean?
Yep,
So
absolutely.
I always tell people just hold on. But with your book, with you writing it, did you just start writing the poetry and writing the short stories? And like, how did you decide one day, I'm gonna put this in a book? Like, how did that happen?
Uh, so it's funny because some of the pieces that are in the book, it was actually I actually wrote while I was on my 30-day hiatus. I was actually in Utah in the treatment program, like a military PTSD specific program. And I wrote a bunch while I was there. Working with my counselor, she goes, "Well, what do you like to do? What did you used to do that you don't do anymore?" And I was like, "Okay, well, I used to write a lot." Like, yeah, that's something I haven't done in a while. Because I'm always having like different ideas that go through my head. And then it was just putting pen to paper. And then even after I continued writing. I had my book. If I could find it, I don't even know where it's at. Like it's somewhere in this room.
Somewhere in here.
So I got like a notepad and I just go to town writing, or even like I literally take my phone sometimes and then I'll make notes of like a topic, and I'm like, okay, cool. When I get home, I'm gonna start writing. Or I start writing on my phone literally when I'm driving. Don't drive and text. I use voice
It's a
chat. That's why I
voice.
got the earpieces.
Yeah.
Um, and like after I would say like the probably last 2 years been kind of rough. I recently went through a divorce. And then through a short period, I was homeless for a little bit, a couple of months. And then it was just like, okay, I got my life set up, good to go. I started working, building myself back up, or best way to describe it is kind of like, how do I get to my younger self? How do
Mm.
I get to that kid in me? That was happy, that was, you know, had no fear, just, attacked everything and, and kept smiling about it. Um, and then literally, you know, I thought about it within the past because I know the book it came out quick. Like I was moving. And when I got a hold of, your husband Ant, I've known Ant for, oh my God, like 10 years now.
Oh.
It's been a long time because we play Call of Duty together, video games. Video games is definitely a therapy session for sure in itself. Um, and then, he had told me that you were a published author, and then you had a, a a great academy, and you're teaching people on how to publish their stories and stuff. And I was just like, how do I get a hold of her?
It's time.
Respectfully, of course.
Yeah, it's time.
And then, yeah, obviously we had that phone call. Me and Ant were at the beach. He spoiled me. He took me out to dinner. We had that phone call, and then everything else was just history. And we just made it happen. Like I think I had the book done within like maybe a couple of weeks.
It happened fast. Yeah.
So I'm very like on point. Like when I have my mind set to something, the sooner the better.
Yeah. Well, what
Um,
does the war with ourselves mean to you personally?
I think for me, the war with ourselves is like we're our own worst enemy, hands down. You know, we're our own worst critic. Um, because I mean, I don't know how many times I used to beat myself up, like, oh, I'm not good enough. Should I, do this to try to get to the next level? Oh, will like people criticize me? Um, it was a lot. So like for me, like I've always felt my entire life, I've always had to prove myself,
Hmm.
you know. Um, again, coming from humble beginnings, and I'm forever grateful for it. And like for me, it's like it's a constant battle day in and day out. I'm like, oh man, do I want to wake up and go to work today? Yeah, you got to go to work today because if you don't, the bills ain't gonna get paid. You can't have food in your kid's mouth.
Hmm.
Um, so it's I feel like, and this is again just my opinion, I think 90% of the time, you know, we battle ourselves than we do, others' opinions, you know. Um, because literally we take somebody else's opinion and then just like magnify it, or the word I like to use, catastrophize, a lot of it.
Or sometimes I've noticed this, we mirror, or not mirror, but we project. We think that they're thinking a certain thing.
Yeah,
And when you have the conversation with them, it hasn't even crossed their mind.
yeah,
And we're in our head like, oh my God, this person might be thinking this and they must feel this way.
hmm,
They ain't even bothered by us.
yeah.
So it's,
Like the imposter syndrome.
yeah,
I know. If if anybody sits there and says that they never had imposter syndrome, that is a lie.
yes,
That's a
yes.
farce.
So who did you write this book for, and who do you hope picks it up and finds themselves in it?
Um, Honestly, like I've told, friends and family, like the book is to help people that are kind of like stuck, or contemplating on getting help. It's just like I want it to be like an open door for everybody. So like, even if it's a child, because I started off the book with, with a child, even if it a child that's been through trauma, hey, start getting the help now, or a woman or a man, like, because I feel like so many times like mental health was so frowned upon, like especially from a guy's perspective. Oh, you got to suck it up, the boys don't cry, you got to deal with the issues, and you got to push through it, and you got to take care of everybody else. Um, and not, work on yourself. And, for me, I just want the book like my goal, if it can help one person, then, by all means, that makes me complete, because if I could help one person, that person can help the other, and it creates that trickle effect, and just promoting, good mental health all across the board, because I think, and then again, it's my personal opinion, I think COVID made mental health like 10 times worse for a lot of people,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And so there definitely is a demographic of people that would benefit from your book. How did you, because I know that you share poems and you share things in there, but you don't directly say it's you. But how did like writing about your inner struggles help you be vulnerable? And like how did you navigate like should I write about this? Is this too personal or how did you kind of navigate that?
I I kind of just took it from like a third person perspective, and then something that I could relate, but something that somebody else could relate to as well, because for me, like I said, at the end of the day, like I want to help people. Yes, like I can express myself and I can go into my own personal story, but at the end of the day, like I am a helper. I am, somebody that's gonna take care of the person to the left and right of me. I don't care if you're, black, white, purple, yellow, gray, you're 2 feet tall, you're 10 feet tall, it doesn't matter. I'm always gonna offer a helping hand. I think, my goal for the book was to just be that beacon, and be that light for people to say, hey, it's okay for me to get help. It's okay for me to talk about, my feelings and work through them, you know. And so that's why I kind of put it in the third person perspective, because I didn't want it to be about me, because like I've already worked on my stuff. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't be here if I didn't.
Mm,
I want somebody to, be able to say, "Oh man, I relate to this a lot." Like, Jesus, maybe I should go get the help that I need, or maybe I should go talk to somebody. And that at the end of the day, that's what the goal of the book was.
love it. What would you say, or like what role would faith, mindset, and like personal discipline play in overcoming any battles, like internal battles that you discuss about?
Yeah. Could you say that again?
Like, what role does faith, mindset, or personal discipline have in overcoming those battles and that war within ourselves?
I think it's a little bit of everything, honestly. Um, because I've just not recently, but I've always had God in my life. you know. Yeah, I've had some distance,
Mhm.
from years past, and it's because, you kind of forget where, who you are, and then you go down the rabbit hole, and you're like, man,
You stray.
oh yeah, and for me, like it takes a correlation of everything. You have to put God first. You have to, one, love yourself. I mean that's like the one of the biggest things. Um, because again, what goes back to, being hard on ourselves, being our worst critic, and you got to be like, okay, hold on, let me take a step back. Am I really that bad? No, and just kind of resetting the mind. But, you know, being able to, have God and then the tools, like there's so many resources out there to help better yourself, whether it's through, I found out there's music therapy, there's swim therapy, there's video game therapy. I mean, you could even like, I'll put a prime example. When I was at my 30-day treatment, they literally say, hey, go color. What? I was like, go color. Okay, I'll go color. And sure enough, after I colored a page, I felt pretty good, because I was able to kind of clear my thoughts. So there's so many different resources, and like I think too, like I'll take, and I may or may not get flack for it, but the VA, Veterans Affairs, right? When I went to their 10-day treatment facility, to kind of for them to clear me that I'm, no longer that I'm stable, they gave me a book, and the book was like from the 1990s, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, how does this relate to my situation? I'm like, because you're cookie cutting, treatment. And for me, everybody's trauma is different, and how they handle it,
Yeah.
and I remember having a full-blown conversation with the psychiatrist and the team. It was like 5 or 10 of them. And like, oh, well, what do you think we should do better? I'm like, XYZ, and I'm like, that's the only way because me going to Iraq and Afghanistan is totally different from, you know, gentlemen over here that went to Vietnam or the Gulf War, you know. And that's just from the veteran perspective, how a lot of the treatment facilities, it's like they cookie cut it and then they say, okay, you go on your way, or here, take this medication, let's hook you up with some Zoloft or something,
Hmm.
you know. Um, yeah, I mean I know I'm running out, making an earful right
No,
now.
and it's true, and I think I'm gonna go back to what you said about uh drawing. That for me, sometimes I will paint.
Oh
Like
wow.
when I get in a funk or in a space or like burnt out, whatever it might be, I'm just not all there. I will pull out a canvas and I just start painting. And when you're done, you feel so much better. And it kind of goes back to what you said earlier about going back to the little kid in you.
Mhm.
Um, and this is something I recommend people to do, but like at one point I actually made a list of all of the things that I was interested in when I was a child, which was riding a bike, which was like all these little things, going for a walk, going to the movies. And I started to do all those things. And then I made another list, not so much a bucket list, but like a list of all the things that I was so afraid to do. Try, like, I'm not a seafood eater. I've always had like a little phobia about it, but I'm like, I'm gonna try shrimp. I'm gonna go skydiving. I'm gonna do this. It's like you rediscover who you are and it
Yeah.
just puts you in a different mindset than just being depressed and like thinking about all the things that you've gone through. Um, so I really think that it is a combination of the faith, the mindset, and it's a lot of work, to be
Oh,
honest.
it is.
It's a
It
lot.
is.
Like it takes a lot of courage and discipline to get up out of bed every day and be like, I'm gonna,
Yeah.
I guess I'll go work out. I guess I will go read the book. I will listen to the motivational, podcast. It takes a lot.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to just turn on the TV and watch a show and just do
Yeah. And
and then
vegetate.
and vegetate in our thoughts and in our trauma. Um, so how has writing this book changed you?
Um, well, I mean, surprisingly enough, like I don't think it's changed me, it's just confirmed me. I don't know if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Like it again, it's something that I've always wanted to do. Um, and to see it like come to light, it's like, oh, hold up. I just wrote a book and I just published it and I'm getting all these messages left and right, from people. I'm like, oh, okay, hey, hi, how are you? How you doing? And I'm like, oh, congratulations. Oh, thanks. Some people I expected, some people I didn't, because I'm big on, I don't ever expect anything from anybody, so I don't get my hopes high and I kind of just coast. I expect my expectations and, you know, and I just stick with that, But yeah, writing this book, it's been so far, like it's only been I think like 4 days, and I'm still getting people reviewing and retweeting and sending out to their friends, and people are like, "Hey, congratulations!" And then, of course, because my mom being Hispanic, she's like, "I sent it to everybody. I told them I'm proud of my baby and all this stuff." And I'm like, "Oh God, mom," She's like, "Yeah, your aunt's buying this, your cousin's doing." That. I'm like, "Okay, all right, cool."
I think your mom followed me on Instagram. But it's cool because I didn't even think of Twitter. I'm not, I have a Twitter account, but I'm not on Twitter.
Yeah,
But Twitter's a great place. I saw that you're on LinkedIn. We follow each other on LinkedIn. That's a
yeah.
even better place because it's all business professionals. Instagram, Facebook, like
Hi, Aunt.
there's so many different places that you can promote it. And
Yeah,
then we talked about this before we actually started recording that you will get to a place where you're like, wait, I have all these people supporting me. I didn't even know, like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like they just come out the woodworks and it's like,
yeah,
it's kind of overwhelming, but it's a great overwhelming.
yeah. Absolutely.
What do you see for yourself now? Like, okay, so you published a book, you're on this podcast. Do you see yourself podcasting more, writing another book, speaking? What are your
Um, so it's funny, like I already had one of my friends reach out, it's like, hey, do you want to do an interview? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Like, so he wants to interview me about the book also, and kind of like my streamer, because again, I stream on the side as well. So he kind of wants to interview me and about my whole experience and writing the book. So that's coming up. I just don't know when. I think it's probably like in a couple of weeks or so. But I definitely I've already had in the back of my mind that I'm probably gonna, continue to write more. Um, yeah, and just, continue doing what I do. Like I said, the grind don't stop. I'm, single dad. I stream, I do cybersecurity for Raytheon. I work at a card shop on the side. Um, yeah, it's just, oh, and I got my service dog Baxter behind me, and he's been a big help. Thank
Mm-hmm.
God for Baxter.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just continue to grow and keep pushing forward like I always do. Again, I for me, like the grind never stops.
Yep.
But I think back then when I used to say it, I didn't know where the hell I was going.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's like, okay, the grind don't stop, but I got lane A, lane B, lane C, and then we just start chipping away at the tree for goals, and then sooner or later those trees will fall down, and then next thing you know, there's a book that's being published in your name, so
And there's so much that you could do with the book. Like you could do an event to promote it. You can
yeah,
podcast. There's so much. But one thing I do recommend that you do is reach out to your local library in the Bronx, where you come from, and your local elementary school, middle school, high school. The reason for this is that our hometowns they love authors. They love when someone that grew up from their small town, that school, the underprivileged school, they love when we reach out to them and we're like, "Hey, I made it out." And I wrote a book and I'm doing this.
yeah,
They more than likely would love to have you come speak or bring the book or have the book in the library. So that's something that I definitely recommend, especially if you come from the Bronx because it's not the best place in the world, you know what I mean? So, but that's like a thing of credibility for them. Is like, oh, we had a child that came to this school and now they're a published author as an adult. It's a big deal.
yeah,
So,
yeah, for
um,
sure.
for readers who are in the middle of their own battles, what would you encourage them? Like, what would you say to them if they're reading this book and they're like, I have gone through some of this stuff?
Biggest thing I always tell people, have a plan, you know, and at least have someone. you know, whether it's a family member or a really close friend, someone that you can, truly trust, because there's at least one person you can truly trust, in my opinion. And you tell them your plan, and tell them, hey, I'm gonna need help with some accountability because there's gonna be days, where you're not gonna be like, man, I don't want to do this. That's when you call, you call your buddy. Because I literally have, I could say 5 people I can call right now and they will pick up immediately, and they'll be like, hey, you're good. Let's get through this. What do you need from me? You know, biggest thing is having a plan, having people that are gonna back you up, and that that you can count on them,
Mhm.
because, at the end of the day, yes, you can go get the help by yourself and do it by yourself, but it comes with a lot of stress and you're gonna start because in the beginning, I'll be honest, at least for myself, I started to build resentment as I started working on my stuff. I was like, I started seeing things for a bigger picture and I was able to discern, okay, who's really there for me and who's not,
Yeah.
you know. So and then again, it comes with the challenges of actively working on yourself.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, for someone reading it, just, take out a pen and paper and say, hey, this is where I want to be in the next few months. And I always tell people just chip away at the tree. So if there's one specific topic you want to work on, okay, like my dad wasn't there most of my life. Okay, then you start working on that, or I grew up in foster care. Let's start working on that. I was adopted. Let's start working on that, you know. And then just I tell people another thing I tell people is like it's the fastest way to eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
eventually you'll get to your goal, to just take it one day at a time and, just continue to push forward and better days are around the corner.
There are always better days around the corner.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Daniel, for joining us today. It has been a pleasure having you on. Any last minute words for our viewers and listeners?
Um, I would say, if you're having a rough time, just know that the world's a better place with you in it.
So true. And where can they grab your book if they're interested?
They can grab it on Amazon,
Amazon.com.
on Kindle too.
Yes. And do you have where can they reach you if are you on social media, LinkedIn?
Yeah, they can. I got multiple social medias, so it'll be RecShot, RECK, and then the word shot because that's my streamer profile. So you guys can reach me out on there. Um, yeah,
He's available. You can watch him stream too.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And guys, if you're watching or listening, make sure that you subscribe, share with a friend, leave us a good review, and we will see you on the next episode of the Book Publishing Academy podcast. Thank you, Daniel.
Bye.